sponsored by Comfort Keepers in Home Care and Advanced Audiology. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host,
Dr. Jean Dorio.
on your hometown station, 98.1 FM and AM 1220 KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And speaking of quality of life, our guest this morning is Dr. Mawa Kalani, who is a palliative care doctor. Good morning. It's good to see you
Welcome back.
again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And let's start off with telling our listeners what palliative care is.
So palliative care is the medical specialty that concerns itself with all things quality. So everything having to do with the serious illness and quality of life is a palliative care potential patient. So any patient who may have advanced cancer, dementia, heart failure, kidney disease, are candidates for palliative care. And what that is just an extra layer of support to enhance the patient's quality of life, help with their symptoms, provide them some support while they're undergoing their ongoing treatments. So it's a really lovely specialty, and it's very worthwhile for our patients to have it on board as a team, and it's very well covered by different insurances, and so it's a movement. It's really expanding. It's really come a long way in the last 10 years.
Well, I resorted to palliative care with my husband. He had been in the hospital for 5 weeks with COPD, pneumonia, things that weren't getting better.
Yeah.
And the doctor finally came in and told me, your husband is getting worse. There is no getting better. And he said, would you like to move him to a care facility? And I said, absolutely not.
Mm-mm.
Absolutely not. And I asked him, I said, is it time to bring in palliative care assistance? And he said yes. So I did. And they were there, 2 days? And he was in pain, and they gave him a shot of morphine.
Mm-hmm.
And in 30 minutes, he was gone.
Right.
I mean, he was ready to go. He really was.
Yeah.
But he was not letting go.
Right. He
And I
needed
think-
permission.
Yeah.
Yes,
He needed permission.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think I did the right thing, because I couldn't see him. I mean, he couldn't talk. He was in pain. He was miserable,
Right.
you know? He
Right.
didn't want to be there. He wanted to be at home. But I couldn't get him home and have enough quality care for him there. So he had to stay in the hospital.
Yeah.
But I'm so thankful that I did call in the palliative care doctors and went into that final area, because I
Yeah.
think it was worth it.
Right.
I
And
really
it's a
do.
real nice collaborative when it's done right.
Yes.
With a collaboration with the primary team and the bedside staff, and it really enhances people's quality of life.
And it did, because his quality of life was less than zero at the time.
My gosh. Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah.
And I think at some point, even though he could not express those views, he knew, enough's enough,
Yeah.
Because he was miserable. Couldn't communicate. And I think I did the right thing for him.
I think you did too.
I really do.
I think you did.
And I think the doctors feel that way. And I know Jean does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing is, we need to make sure that we define exactly the terminology that is out there,
Yeah.
because defining it and also decides on how things are paid for in our society.
Yeah.
And what Russ went on hospice, which is a part of palliative care. It's the extension.
Mm-hmm.
There are many individuals who are on palliative care, but yet they're not on hospice yet because
That's
they're
correct.
not at end of life.
That's correct.
So Russ was at end of life, and he went from palliative, and we had talked with Russ many a time about his quality of life, what he wanted, where he wanted to go, how he wanted to handle it. So that discussion took place, and so he knew that at times he would want to go into the hospital. Well, he never really wanted to go into the hospital, but he did feel that there were times that he would go in because it would help him get to the next day and he'd feel good. So he did that a few times, reluctantly, but he did that because he knew that would bring his level of quality back up again. And we did that. The thing was, there was that the last week or so, 2 weeks, he did not come back up to that level. And he
Yeah.
realized it. We all saw that, and that's when we thought we need to move forward. And he went on hospice at that point. And hospice is truly end-of-life care.
Absolutely.
And that's where he was saved the suffering, the pain, the discomfort that some people do go through with their chronic illness.
Right. And one of the things that in palliative care, so Russ could have experienced palliative care throughout the spectrum of his chronic and serious
Yes.
illness, with his COPD and whatnot, because very likely he was experiencing shortness of breath or
Yes.
anxiety around breathing, providing support to you and the caregivers. I mean, you've done such a tremendous job caring for him in the home. It's remarkable. Having that extra layer of support could have helped you also. And that is what palliative care is set up to do. So chaplain support, social work support, really kind of brainstorming as to how can we make his quality of life better.
Well, it was interesting because the hospital and the doctors had our entire family come in and explain exactly what the process is and what the procedures are as
good.
far as that is concerned. And we all felt that was very helpful.
Yeah.
It really was. I think it was a very positive thing that the hospital did
Yeah.
for us as a family, and everyone knew what was going on,
And that's important too, is communication. Making sure
Absolutely.
that everyone involved in decision making has all the necessary tools to make the right decisions. So communication is a huge part of the palliative care experience.
So how do we, though, in this day and age where we have older adults, they're seeing their primary care doctors, and they are having medical problems where sometimes they're being admitted to the hospital, but they make it out. How do we get that discussion to take place, since these doctors these days have 5 minutes to talk to the patient? And when it comes to then trying to have a discussion about palliative care, hospice care, end-of-life care, that gets to be pretty much of a big problem if that discussion hasn't taken place until the very end. So we have to let our listeners know that you can go online, you can talk to other people around you, you can go to the senior center, you can do all these things, but that discussion needs to start earlier.
Absolutely.
And we're not talking when you're a teenager, but sometimes that can happen in certain situations if a terrible diagnosis is made. But as you're getting older, the clock starts to tick. You start to feel it, and you go, I've been admitted to the hospital twice this last year. Now it's 3 times this year. You know that things are going on, and you want to be able to make the decisions about your life that others might not know about, and you have to present that and bring that forward in discussion and conversation with your family and your loved ones and your doctor. And you have to kind of put up the hand and say, talk to the hand, because I want 5 minutes or 10 minutes to talk about this right now, and make them take that time to do it. If you're at that point don't put it off, because I think there's some paperwork, there's some legal terms, there's the way we do things in medicine now that could help save your life, but in the process of doing that, you could suffer.
Absolutely.
And, you want people to know to what degree you might be suffering before you say, pull the plug. So you have to be, prepared in your thoughts and your discussion with the people around you. If you don't do that early enough, then you have your family and maybe even yourself at a point where people, you can't say what you want, and your family doesn't know, and that's not helpful to the doctors or anyone.
It's important to let your listeners know that advanced care planning, which is what you're discussing, is covered by Medicare. And it is something that a patient can call their physician, schedule an appointment, just like we do routine health screens. Advanced care planning is covered, and the doctor can be reimbursed for that. And it's something that I'm actually encouraging a lot of my colleagues to start having more conversations with their patients around advanced care planning, because they can get reimbursed for it. But at the same time, we're doing quite a service to our patients by providing them the necessary information, providing them advanced directives to give them the tools to complete forms. There's lots of education out there, videos, and we use a lot of those tools within the hospital setting. But it's just equally as important. Actually, it's more important to do it on the outpatient side, because the relationship's already established. The primary care doctor can very easily have these conversations. So I encourage all of your listeners to not only seek out an advance directive if they don't have one, but also to schedule an appointment with their physician about it, because it is something that they are getting covered for.
Yeah, let's talk about that legal side. There is paperwork that is out there that hospitals and paramedics and your primary care doctor are looking for, and one that you mentioned is an advance directive. We need to know what you want us to do, how far you want us to go, who is going to make decisions for you, should you not be able to make those decisions. So we need to have that clearly delineated as best we can, because, there are situations that come up. We all know that as physicians, nothing is cookie cutter in life.
Absolutely.
And because it's
right.
not, you don't know exactly the situation that you or your family is going to be facing. But you can have some of these things clarified beforehand, so family can say, I know what Dad, I know what Mom would want us to do
Right.
at this point. So, you should right away start becoming prepared paperwork-wise with letting people know what your wants and your needs are to fulfill your quality of life.
And the nice thing about those legal forms, the advance directives are right online. They can be printed right off of the internet. All they need are 2 witnesses. They don't necessarily need a notary. So it could be either 2 witnesses or a notary, if you so happen to want to pay for a notary. And it's easy to complete. And it's important that those folks who are making the surrogate decisions in case the individual cannot, they should have a copy as well. And when we do the education for advanced care planning at our hospital, we not only provide the information to the patient, but we give forms out to all their family members too. It really include every single person in that mix.
Right. Well, it's interesting because we had those advanced care directives in our trust.
Yes.
And, when I think one of the doctors or somebody said, do you have one of these? I said, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Well, a form that states that you can have a procedure set up so that he can be taken care of, or I can take care of him in doing X, Y, and Z. And that was that was in there. I just had to go find it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we recently updated our advance directive to include, we took out our family members. We actually included our closest friends because they know us better than our family members do.
Cool. Yeah, it's
And
good.
one of them happens to be a physician, and this is one of our closest friends. And so it's whoever knows you the best is really who you want to put down as your surrogate.
Right. Plus, you hear the modern technology, and we do great in terms of life saving nowadays. There are surgical procedures that could save your life, but there are some things like CPR, giving pressors, which are blood pressure elevators, intubating, for instance. Intubation is when we put a breathing tube in for you, and some people don't want to do that. Some people don't want a feeding tube to feed them. Everybody has different thoughts of how aggressive one wants to be about themselves, but you have to clearly say that, or at least let your power of attorney know this is what I want in this situation. It's hard to do, but you really need to plan ahead in that process and do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we discuss that all the time, and I was just recently doing some education with some first responders, firemen and paramedics, and it's really a challenge for them when they go to the home of an individual who is in crisis and not knowing what to do. There's no form, there's no discussion, and they're really at a loss. And of course, they are going to opt for life-saving procedures. And if that's not in line with who you are, then you need to put this down and you need to let people know.
That's right. Needs to be in writing.
Absolutely.
It really does.
Absolutely.
Needs to be in black and white.
And we
where
all
it can be seen, read, and understood, and followed.
Absolutely.
and those are the medical things that we need to know. But there are financial issues that arise that your family needs to know as well. And if you haven't discussed what you want medically, there's a likelihood that you have not also discussed financially what you are going to do. And that's key and important for that discussion to take place, because who's going to pay your mortgage? Who's going to pay your rent? Who's going to pay for the dog food? Who's going to do these things if
goodness.
you haven't clarified that? And banks, credit cards, and people, they're not going to let somebody just, nowadays the confidentiality, and there's a lot of red tape one has to jump through. And if you're writing now a check on behalf of your loved one, you could be breaking the law or forcing your relative to break the law. So you don't need that. So, medical decisions and financial decisions are absolutely a part of all this that one needs to take into account beforehand, so it doesn't become a problem down the line.
And see, this is what we deal with in palliative care. For instance, yesterday we had a family conference with a patient who has very advanced COPD, also advanced lung disease, and her closest relative is in Illinois. And so she has a girlfriend who's here for the past 40 years. We have now arranged for her to be on the advance directive. And we provided her the tools to get a financial DPOA as well, because this patient is progressing in her illness and she needs more support. So our social worker and our chaplain were able to help with that, to get her the financial DPOA set up, a mobile notary, to come to the hospital, to notarize her documents, because she's in full capacity to make decisions at this point.
Do it now.
And doing it now, because we
Absolutely.
can't guarantee where she's going to be in a week.
That's true. That's true. And we need to take a break, don't we? Yes. Yes. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM and AM 1220 KHTS.
Hi, I'm Miles McNamara, Certified Senior Advisor and owner of Comfort Keepers in Home Care. Our caregivers help you in your own home. A Comfort Keeper can provide companionship, meal preparation, medication monitoring, assistance with personal care, transportation to doctor appointments, all enhancing your independence and safety in the comfort and privacy of your own home. So if you or someone you love could use a helping hand at home, call Comfort Keepers at 287-4200. That's 287-4200.
Your building sign is essential to getting customers to your location. Feathers can help you get your business noticed. Feathers, now in a new, larger space with plenty of parking. They walk you through each phase of your project with special attention to detail and quality. Feathers will provide you with a sign that you can be proud of. Your sign will draw customers in instead of having them drive by. Visit Feathers online at feathersigns.com or go to Feathers' brand new, bigger location at 26017 Huntington Drive off Rye Canyon or call 298-9442.
The Antelope Valley Fair presents Dorio Speedwagon performing at the Palmdale Auto Mall's concert series on Saturday, August 17th. Here comes REO. Opening for REO, the LA indie rock band Sir Please. Get your tickets today at avfair.com. This year's fair presented by IBEW and NECA.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign, next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
We all know sometimes people lose their way. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, the Way Out Recovery SCV may have the answers you've been waiting for. The Way Out is the premier intensive outpatient treatment center serving Santa Clarita. Asking for help is the first step. Call The Way Out today, 661-296-4444. That's 296-4444 for a private free assessment. The Way Out is an accredited, affordable outpatient program that accepts most insurance. Call us at 661-296-4444 or check us out online at thewayoutrrecoveryscv.com. Quit battling with yourself. Ask The Way Out for help today.
Hey there, it's Tori with your hometown station weather. A little bit cooler than it has been, although it still will be in the upper 90s most of this week with lows in the upper 60s. For anything and everything Santa Clarita Valley related, go to hometownstation.com. Find us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at KHTS Radio.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM and AM 1220 KHTS. And we're speaking with Dr. Maura Kalani, who is a palliative care doctor. And let's continue in this very interesting conversation.
Thank you.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
we were talking about obtaining medical and financial consent and having that discussion, and I think that's important. But there are other aspects of how we live in our daily life, and one of them is through our friends and family and through our church.
Yes.
So how you move forward sometimes is related to your beliefs, and it's important that you can roll that in to this whole your thought process and how you want to handle not so much the financial side but the medical side, as to what your end point is and how you're going to get there. So religion needs to be a part of this discussion, and I'm sure for all of us it is. And I always ask my patients about, what are your beliefs? Where where do you want to go?
It's a
Do
big
you believe?
component.
Do you don't believe? And those issues always do come up. But that's a part of that discussion that does take place sometimes. Maybe not so much with a doctor, but maybe more with your clergy and your family.
Right. And I actually will put that challenge out to the faith community to start having those conversations with their parishioners and their folks. Because I'll tell you, one faith community that seems to be doing this quite well is the Jehovah's Witness. because they have certain things medically that they don't subscribe to. And therefore, they've encouraged all of their members to have advanced directives in place, and to the point where they carry cards in their wallets. And that is impressive.
Oh, yes.
It is so helpful. Who's the surrogate? What are the things that they would want in regards to transfusions, for instance, resuscitation? All of those things are already discussed in advance. And we can do this in any faith community. We could do that with Catholics, with different Christian communities, our Jewish community, our Muslim community. We've got quite a bit of thriving faith communities here in Santa Clarita, and I know that this is something that needs to be addressed.
Well, now, would you be the type of person to address this with clergy?
It is absolutely within the scope of a physician or any individual who is versed on the topic can very easily have these types of conversations. Chaplain, who is within the setting of a hospital, a social worker. Our palliative care nurse has done faith community education. So we've done a lot of these different initiatives with our faith communities, our local faith communities, and it's been very helpful.
It has. So
Yeah.
basically then the faith community is aware
Yes.
of this.
Yes. And
That's
then
good to know. It
I
really
think
is.
it's huge. And whenever I see a patient and then their pastor or their rabbi come into the hospital to provide them support, it is that established relationship. It's that
Right.
it is remarkable, and it's really encouraged.
So, I have trouble sometimes with my colleagues because I think for some of even this discussion we're having, it's out of their comfort zone. If you bring in anything legal, if you bring in something religious, if you bring in something financial, you're kind of out of their realm. And so they're going to, turf it off to somebody else.
But that makes sense.
Oh, no, and it's
It
okay.
really
If
does.
it's not your knowledge base, then you shouldn't be talking about it. That's
Absolutely.
that's bottom line. And that's
Absolutely.
what
Yes.
palliative care physicians do. That's why you are there. That's what you've been trained in.
That's what I've been trained in. You're absolutely right.
So when-
and I
when-
know who to call.
Yeah.
When I have a spiritual crisis, I would put my chaplain on speed dial.
Not Ghostbusters. Who are you going to
No.
call Ghostbusters?
Yeah, no, I put my chaplain on it.
There you go.
And really, the chaplain being non-denominational can really tackle any faith, spirituality concerns. So it's not necessarily a Christian chaplain or a Jewish chaplain. It is non-denominational, which is nice. They take them at the face value of where the patient is at. And what is that crisis? Really provide them that emotional support, provide them resources, help connect them with their faith community in the community as well.
Right.
So it's important that we go beyond the medical and start spreading this word to our faith communities where a lot of our folks are relying on for information.
So deviating from that just a little bit and talking about, those who have made decisions and the direction they're going to go, and you mentioned having, paperwork in your wallet. I think that's really good. But when you know where you're heading and you know what needs to be done, as we said, hospitals, paramedics, they want to know what that is and they want to see the paperwork. So it's important that you keep your paperwork crisp and new and out there.
Accessible
Yeah.
and not in a safety deposit box.
Yeah, where no one sees it. And,
Yes, it's really
and-
important.
And we have worked out something with the first responders
Yes.
in Santa Clarita. For many years now, they always know that, to look on the refrigerator or look at the back of the door.
Oh, that's a
and,
good one.
And there's typically it's an envelope that has, legal information that will tell the paramedics, help them, guide them in what to do for the patient. So, and there are many of our listeners who are out there on the radio and knowing that no one is around them. They have families and friends that are close by, but nobody is around them. And if somebody enters and they're unconscious, and there's nothing even to identify who they are. If they have that paperwork on the door or on the refrigerator, we're in great shape. People, we know then what to do, what your name is, and where to go, and what the legal part is, what the moral part, the religious part of it, what the financial part. All of it is there, and we can encapsulate that onto a few pieces of paper for the most part, and allow those first responders to right away make decisions that could save your life, or could at least allow you to go in the direction that you want to go in.
Right. And I'm just so impressed by our first responders. They really do make an effort. It's not just a blanketed, we'll just throw this patient on a ventilator and bring them into the hospital. They actually are making phone calls and trying to ascertain to what extent are we doing things.
That's right.
I'm impressed, absolutely impressed.
When the times that I've had to call them for Russ, they have a myriad of questions.
Absolutely.
That they need to have the answers to before they do this or this or this or this. And you're right, they're very knowledgeable. Every single one of them that I have dealt with, they've been absolutely fantastic, all of them. And they're so well trained, and they're what's the word I'm using for it?
How about a team? That they are a part of a team,
yes.
Extending from the 911 call to the first responders to the second responders in the emergency room. We're all a team in this community who have been trying to assure that your wishes are taken for what they are and not discarded, and put you and your family in a position of hardship.
Yeah, it's impressive. I mean, I really didn't understand the scope of how much a part of the team they were until I provided some education on advanced care planning to our local fire stations, and I was floored.
And
just hearing their stories.
They were open to receiving this information,
oh
too.
my gosh, they requested it.
That's wonderful.
It's
a
really
critical
awesome.
part of their team process.
Yeah.
It is. It's a critical part.
I felt like I wanted to give out my cell phone so that we could walk through cases together, but I'm sure that would have been a disaster.
And being here for over 30 years, I've seen this evolve, all of it evolve. And, Santa Clarita has been great. The county fire department and the sheriffs and, all of those first responders have played a role in making sure that, this is out there, and we're doing the right thing for the people we serve. And so, it's been nice to be able to see this, improve and get better, and tweaked and then retweaked and all of this, because now the service that we are providing is now more dependent now on the individual to get the job done, have the conversation, do what you need to do, and so you can let us know. It's all there now for everybody. Before it was, what do we do now? We don't know. It's not there.
Yeah.
We now have the ability to have everything out there. We just need participation and everybody having doctors and nurses and the patients themselves in the community, our leaders, to be able to say, hey, we're doing, we're ready for you now. We are set. Things are in place. We've had this discussion for years, and we fine-tune it, and it's working for everybody. We just have to get everybody to participate in it.
That's right. And the other team, the sheriff's department.
Oh my goodness, I love them.
Now, aren't they all well versed in this same type of thing we're talking about? Or do they need to be?
They probably need a little bit more fine-tuning, but frankly, from the sheriffs that I've interacted with, they've got quite a good understanding
They
of
have.
advanced care planning and the importance of surrogate decision making and options.
Yeah, because you never know when a sheriff is, oops, what do I do now? You
Yeah.
know?
You know,
And you
Well,
know
I
that
haven't
they
seen
get
that in
into
a long
those.
time where, they are well trained here.
Very
And,
well trained, very
well
well
trained in terms of, their job and enforcing the law. That's great stuff. But, well trained in the dynamics of people's lives and how they play a role in it. That has been so important for especially our older adults to know that, they have worked real hard, got their education, gotten into classrooms, and said, this is how we need to handle this. And they have done that very successfully. So that comfort when you have a sheriff or a fire department with paramedics has changed in total.
Oh, my
For the
goodness.
positive in Santa Clarita, and it's because of the county's great cooperation in allowing this to flourish and allowing this discussion and allowing everything to be tweaked into a better way, which it is now.
I have to say I've interacted mainly with the sheriffs on a professional, like, patient care level. One of them was a great, who's become now a really good friend, Bernie Lopez, who is a sheriff up here in Santa Clarita. And he, walking away from that experience of having interacted with palliative care, he was able to really speak about it towards other family members as well. And it's really about interacting with people and promoting the program, promoting advanced care planning, not letting people get afraid of the terminology. So we're not talking about end of life. We're talking about ongoing quality of life.
Quality of life, absolutely. And that's what it's all about. It really is. And do we need to take a break yet? I thought so. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220, KHTS.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM and AM 1220, KHTS. And we're speaking with Dr. Mawa Kalani, a palliative care doctor. And my goodness, is there anything we haven't covered?
The election?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, and the debates? Oh my gosh.
Oh, did you watch those debates last night?
I couldn't stomach it. It was just, it's just too much. There's too many candidates. I can't, I
Well,
just can't follow.
it'll narrow down. So
I'm waiting for it to narrow down because 20 of them, to really understand their platforms well, it's just nearly
And
impossible.
a lot of them are just arguing with each other.
Yeah, I
Which
know.
doesn't give
That's not
you
productive.
any information.
Yeah.
Really.
Which
Because I
is
recorded it.
exactly what we don't want to do with palliative care. And,
Right.
and there are some people that, in terms of hospice and palliative care who are upset with the system because, and there are certain patients and families who feel that some patients are being taken advantage of. And, I'm clearly one of those doubters because there's certain circumstances that should not exist that are occurring right now for not the patient, but on behalf of companies and hospitals and, private HMOs that are unfortunately taking advantage of the system. And history will say that certain things were done that was working against the American people. And this will be one of them because we had to go through the growing pains of figuring out how to handle it. And I think we're getting through that to a certain degree. But our patients and families don't need to be afraid of the situation
Yeah.
if they ask the right questions, if they are prepared in advance, so that those who might be trying to take advantage of them won't be able to do that, because clarity will already be there. The conversation, that discussion will already be completed, and you won't need somebody coming in and say, oh, you should do this and you should do that, with the thought that you haven't discussed this. And, it's easy to then say, this is what my family member wanted, and not let somebody try to, overwhelm you with, certain words and ways of doing things to make it so that you might be doing the wrong thing. You are doing the things that your loved one wants you to do. And if you have made that very clear beforehand, then the problems related to being taken advantage of will be minimized. So that's why the early discussion is so important, that you sit down with family, clergy, your doctor, and make sure that the understanding of where you want to go, what your quality of life is going to be, will be enhanced, and then at some point where you're going to be saying, okay, this is it. This is my time. And we have to, make sure that people understand not to have fear in hospice or palliative care, that it is a worthy endeavor. Many people out there who are doing the right thing right now for our patients.
And one of the things from my experience, I've been doing palliative now for close to 10 years, is seek out a program that's also nonprofit. Because that also means that whatever revenue they're actually generating and making is going back into the program, going back into bettering the program. So I have found that utilizing nonprofit hospices are an excellent value. And that it's not just a business making money on end-of-life care. So that's one of the things that I would encourage, that if
great suggestion.
If hospice is being considered, think of, what is that profit value looking like to them? Because there are over 300 hospices in the Los Angeles, Antelope Valley areas. Actually, Antelope Valley only has a few, but the Los Angeles County, there's like a gazillion. There's a new one popping up just about every week. I'm getting a phone call.
Is that because they think, oh, there's lots of money in it?
Yep. Sorry.
But to be frank.
So, yes, and that's exactly it. And that's why you have to ask questions of the hospice company. Who are you? How long have you been here? Crowd search them on the internet. You have to do these things.
You have to do some
because
diligence.
There are some people who are opening up these agencies that just want the money and don't know what they're doing. And your loved one might suffer because of that. And you do not need that to happen.
And you don't need the headache. So stick with a model that works. I encourage nonprofit models, faith-based models, whatever works. But there are several out there, and they are in good standing and have excellent opinions out there on the internet as well. So the other thing that I would recommend is to seek out palliative care. There are a burgeoning number of community palliative care programs. Providence, where I work, has a community palliative care program. There's actually several teams set up, but two teams that are built for this particular area are around the care of FACE patients, and another that is non-FACE patients. So there are opportunities there. If you have a Blue Shield plan, HMO plan, or a PPO plan, Blue Shield has had a huge movement towards palliative care, and it is fully covered.
And I'm sure that Blue Cross also.
I am most positive Blue Cross is lumped into that. The Blues are an excellent insurance plan.
Good, that's what I have.
Well, good. Well, then you're good.
Medicare.
But you also have really good friends, Barb, so I think you're
true.
okay.
That's true.
So if, for instance, someone out there is listening and saying, how do I get a hold of Dr. Kalani? Is there a phone number that they can call? Or
we through Providence Holy Cross, they are welcome to call our hospital. Our palliative care program, our direct number is 818-496-1837. Or even just calling the referral line through the Providence system will get you through to a palliative
provider.
So that's 818-496-1837.
Correct.
Yes.
Well, you know,
And I apologize to our nurse coordinators who are on the receiving end in case we get bombarded with lots of phone calls.
But it's good because that
But
means
it's great.
people
We
are
love it.
interested and curious, and they have questions that they need answered. 'cause
Well, we
this,
can
this
help
needs to be up
direct
front.
them in the right direction.
And
So
that's what's
absolutely.
important.
Absolutely.
there you
It
go.
is.
Dr. Kalani, thank you again for being on the show. You know,
Yes.
you've just brought up a topic that is, for some, fearful, but you
No.
have brought it forward in a profound and a sense of comfort for our listeners, and we thank you for that.
I greatly appreciate being here and look forward to future visits.
Great,
Yes,
thank
and we'll see you again next month, won't we?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yes.
Then maybe we'll have some better topics too.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, we are sponsored by Comfort Keepers in Home Care and Advanced Audiology. Listen to us next week on the Senior Hour. Now go and enhance your quality of life.